Listen carefully, for this is not a time for doubt or hesitation, but a time for vigilance and unwavering faith, for the adversary who has worked in silence, plotting against your destiny, will no longer remain hidden. The schemes that were whispered in the shadows, the plans devised in secrecy, the lies crafted to deceive and destroy, they are about to be unveiled. And the truth that has been suppressed for so long will rise like a blazing light piercing through the darkness, revealing every hidden motive, every masked intention, every act of betrayal that was committed behind closed doors. And though you may have felt powerless, unsure, or even abandoned, the Lord assures you that divine intervention is at hand, and the enemy who has taken pleasure in your struggle will face exposure. The reality of their actions will become undeniable, their attempts to undermine your progress will be rendered futile, and the very things they believed would remain concealed will now be laid bare before the eyes of all. For God's justice is not partial, nor is it delayed. It moves with perfect timing, orchestrating circumstances in ways that human understanding cannot always comprehend. And as the veil is lifted, you will see the patterns, the connections, the hidden alliances, the silent whispers, and the betrayals that have sought to weaken you. Yet the exposure is not just for punishment but for liberation, for your freedom, for the restoration of your peace. And in that revelation, you will find clarity, you will find courage, and you will find the assurance that the Lord's hand has always been guiding you, even in moments when the enemy seemed to have the upper hand. For no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every hidden agenda will eventually be brought into the light, no matter how cleverly it was concealed, for darkness cannot resist the illumination of truth. And those who plot in secret cannot escape the righteous scrutiny that divine providence brings. The enemy who believed that their actions were unnoticed will now witness the unraveling of their plans. Their influence will diminish, their words will lose power, and the people they sought to manipulate will begin to see the reality, the true character behind the facades, the intentions that were hidden beneath layers of deception. And as the exposure unfolds, you will notice the patterns of manipulation, the repeated tactics used to weaken faith, the subtle attacks on confidence, the undermining of relationships, and even the sowing of doubt in your heart, all of which have been orchestrated by the enemy to destabilize your spirit. Yet in the midst of it all, God's assurance is clear. The exposure will bring liberation, not chaos, clarity, not confusion, for the revelation of the enemy's plans is meant to strengthen you, to awaken you to the reality that divine protection has always been surrounding you, unseen, unnoticed, but powerful beyond measure. And now, as the enemy's true nature is revealed, you will be positioned to rise above the schemes, to reclaim the ground that was compromised, to speak with authority where silence once reigned, and to act with discernment where ignorance once allowed manipulation. For knowledge of the enemy's tactics is a gift of empowerment, allowing you to navigate life with wisdom, to respond with precision, to maintain peace of mind, and to recognize that the adversary's exposure is part of a larger divine plan, a plan that aligns with your destiny, a plan that ensures that the path ahead is illuminated with truth. And though the revelation may be unsettling, even shocking, it is necessary, for the Lord is revealing what must be known so that righteousness may prevail, so that deception cannot endure, so that your faith can be strengthened, so that you can walk boldly into the next season of your life with confidence, knowing that the enemy's schemes are no longer a mystery but a reality confronted. And as each layer is uncovered, you will recognize the signs of manipulation, the tactics meant to confuse, the words designed to wound, and the strategies employed to divert you from your purpose. And in this unveiling, you will find clarity, discernment, and the courage to act justly, the courage to forgive where necessary, the courage to confront where required, and the wisdom to step away from what cannot be redeemed. For the exposure of the enemy is not merely about punishment but about revealing what is hidden, about shining a light so that you may navigate life with eyes wide open, heart aligned with truth, mind anchored in wisdom, spirit strengthened by faith, and soul fortified by the knowledge that the Lord is your ultimate protector, that His hand moves with precision, and that no enemy can advance without being noticed, without being accounted for, without facing divine exposure that will bring justice in its perfect form. And as this exposure unfolds, you will notice that the enemy's influence over situations, relationships, and opportunities begins to diminish. Their attempts to manipulate events in their favor will falter, their networks of deceit will unravel, and their previously hidden agendas will be revealed not only to you but to those around them. The people who once were misled will begin to see the reality, the web of lies will be untangled, and the truth will emerge in clarity that cannot be denied. For God's timing is impeccable, His wisdom surpasses human understanding, and His plan for justice is meticulous, leaving nothing to chance, no deceit unchecked, no betrayal unnoticed, and as the Lord exposes the enemy, you will feel a shift within, a strengthening of your spirit, a lightness of heart, a renewed confidence that every obstacle you faced was permitted only for this very moment when truth could rise, and in that revelation, you will recognize patterns, connections, and motives that were invisible before. You will understand the reasons for past confusion, the purpose behind delayed blessings, the rationale behind sudden losses, and the meaning behind moments that felt like setbacks. For each of these experiences was part of God's preparation, part of the divine orchestration that ensures when the enemy is exposed, you are ready to walk in victory, to step into the fullness of your destiny, and to claim what is rightfully yours. And as the darkness retreats, the light of truth becomes so evident that deception cannot maintain its hold. Lies are dismantled with such precision that even the most cunning plots are revealed for what they truly are, and you will witness how God turns the enemy's schemes into instruments for your awakening, your discernment, and your ultimate triumph. For no plan of the adversary can succeed against divine protection, no whispered lie can withstand the illumination of heavenly truth, and every act of treachery that was designed to harm you will instead become a testimony of God's faithfulness, a story of His justice, a demonstration of His unwavering power. And as the enemy faces exposure, you will also realize the importance of patience, of trusting the process, of walking in integrity even when unseen, of maintaining faith when circumstances seem bleak. For it is in these very moments that God is preparing the revelation, orchestrating the timing, aligning hearts and minds, and ensuring that when the enemy is exposed, the impact is absolute, undeniable, and transformative. And you will see that even those who sought to harm you will unknowingly play a role in elevating your understanding, sharpening your discernment, and deepening your spiritual awareness. And as each secret is unveiled, the connections, the hidden motivations, and the silent manipulations will come into view, enabling you to act wisely, to respond with clarity, and to move forward without fear, without confusion, without hesitation. For the enemy's exposure is not only a revelation of malice but a demonstration of divine justice, a reminder that no injustice remains hidden, that no betrayal is ignored, that no deception can withstand the light of God's truth. And in the wake of this revelation, you will recognize the importance of surrounding yourself with those whose hearts are aligned with integrity, wisdom, and righteousness. For God is not only exposing the enemy but also guiding you toward alliances, relationships, and circumstances that are meant to uplift, protect, and propel you forward, and the enemy, who once believed their actions were unnoticed, will now encounter the consequences of their hidden plans. For every secret agenda, every attempt to undermine, every act of betrayal will be unveiled in due time, and as you witness this unfolding, you will gain confidence that your faith was not in vain, your prayers were not ignored, your patience was not wasted, and the adversary, who plotted in darkness, will see the result of divine scrutiny, the transparency of truth, the inevitability of justice, and you will understand that God's exposure is both a shield and a revelation, protecting you while revealing the reality, and this revelation will serve as a powerful reminder that no matter how intricate the enemy's strategies, no matter how concealed their intentions, divine truth cannot be suppressed, deception cannot endure indefinitely, and righteousness will ultimately prevail. And as this process continues, you will notice the subtle shifts in the environment around you. The people who were complicit or silent will begin to respond to the truth, situations that seemed hopeless will start to realign, opportunities previously blocked will now open, and the clarity provided by exposure will give you the ability to act decisively, to make choices with confidence, and to move forward in alignment with God's plan. For the exposure of the enemy is not merely about revealing wrongdoing, it is about empowering you to navigate life with wisdom, strength, and discernment, ensuring that the path ahead is illuminated with truth, protected by divine authority, and guided by heavenly insight. And as the enemy is exposed, you will come to realize that every hardship endured, every challenge faced, every attempt to deceive you, was ultimately orchestrated to strengthen your spirit, refine your character, and prepare you for this very moment of clarity. For in the unveiling of deceit, you gain the ability to act with precision, to speak with authority, and to embrace the freedom that comes from knowing the truth, the absolute truth, which cannot be shaken, obscured, or undermined. And as you continue to witness this divine revelation, you will find a deep sense of peace, a confidence in your purpose, and a strengthened connection to the Lord, who has always been your protector, your guide, and your source of unwavering truth, ensuring that no enemy remains hidden, no lie persists, and no betrayal goes unnoticed, for God's timing is perfect, His justice is certain, and His power is unmatched, and the exposure of the enemy will serve as a powerful affirmation that your life, your destiny, and your journey are firmly in the hands of a divine power that sees all, knows all, and orchestrates all for your ultimate good. And as the truth unfolds, you will stand with clarity, courage, and conviction, ready to embrace the next chapter of your life, empowered by the knowledge that the enemy's exposure is a signal of divine alignment, a testament to faith, and a confirmation that God's protection, guidance, and justice have always been at work, orchestrating every event, every circumstance, every encounter, to ensure that when the enemy is exposed, you are ready, fortified, and victorious. As the exposure of the enemy progresses, you will begin to notice the subtle yet undeniable shifts in the dynamics of your life. The walls that once felt suffocating will start to crumble, the chains that kept you bound in fear, doubt, and confusion will begin to fall away, and the clarity that emerges will allow you to see people, situations, and intentions in their true form, no longer filtered through the haze of deception or clouded by manipulation. For every lie that was whispered against you, every scheme that was secretly plotted, and every action intended to undermine your progress will now be brought into the light, and in that light, the darkness cannot remain, the masks will fall off, and the true nature of the enemy will be undeniable, visible to all who choose to observe with open eyes, and you will see how their words, once coated in charm and deceit, were merely tools of distraction, devices meant to divert your focus from your purpose, and as God exposes the truth, you will gain the insight to discern genuine intentions from falsehood, truth from manipulation, sincerity from pretense, and loyalty from betrayal. And this discernment will not only protect you from further harm but also strengthen your spiritual understanding, giving you the wisdom to navigate future challenges with precision, confidence, and unwavering faith, for divine exposure is not merely about revealing the enemy, it is about equipping you with the clarity and fortitude needed to rise above, to walk boldly in your purpose, and to operate with integrity in every sphere of life. And as the schemes unravel, you will begin to see the ripple effects, the way deceit impacted relationships, the ways manipulation influenced decisions, and the subtle shifts in perception caused by the enemy's actions. Yet through this revelation, God provides restoration, healing, and understanding, turning confusion into clarity, despair into hope, and fear into courage. And as the enemy faces exposure, their influence will diminish, their words will lose credibility, and their presence will no longer carry the power it once did. For the Lord's hand ensures that truth prevails over deception, righteousness triumphs over treachery, and the faithful are upheld while the wicked are revealed, and you will witness how every act of betrayal that was designed to hurt you becomes an instrument for your awakening, your growth, and your alignment with divine purpose, for the exposure is not only for justice but also for your empowerment, to help you recognize the value of discernment, the importance of patience, and the strength of unwavering faith. And as the layers of secrecy peel away, the reality of the enemy's character will be undeniable, their hidden motives laid bare, and their attempts to manipulate, deceive, or control will be exposed for all to see. And in that exposure, you will recognize that the Lord has always been orchestrating events on your behalf, guiding circumstances, influencing hearts, and arranging every detail to ensure that truth ultimately prevails. And as the enemy's schemes crumble, you will experience a renewed sense of purpose, clarity, and confidence, understanding that every challenge faced, every obstacle encountered, and every hidden attack was part of a larger divine plan meant to prepare you for this moment of revelation. And as you navigate this period of exposure, you will begin to notice how opportunities previously blocked are now accessible, how relationships previously strained can now be clarified, and how paths previously hidden are now illuminated. For God's exposure brings not only justice but also alignment, protection, and preparation for the next season of your life, and you will see that the enemy's attempts to destabilize you, weaken your resolve, and distort your perception have ultimately been rendered powerless, for divine truth cannot be suppressed, deception cannot endure, and the righteous are fortified by the knowledge that God sees all, knows all, and acts at the perfect time. And as each secret is unveiled, the patterns of manipulation, the hidden agendas, and the silent attacks will be made known, allowing you to respond with wisdom, act with precision, and move forward without fear, hesitation, or confusion. For the exposure of the enemy is both a shield and a revelation, protecting you while revealing the reality, strengthening your spirit while clarifying your path, and ensuring that when the enemy's true nature is revealed, you are empowered to act with authority, discernment, and divine insight. and as the exposure continues, you will recognize that the enemy's downfall is inevitable, their influence over situations diminishes, their credibility erodes, and their ability to deceive or manipulate is neutralized, for God's intervention is absolute, His justice unwavering, and His timing perfect, and in this process, you will witness how deception unravels, how truth shines with brilliance, how manipulation is dismantled, and how the faithful are strengthened, affirmed, and protected, and as the enemy faces exposure, you will feel an inner shift, a fortifying of your spirit, a strengthening of your resolve, and a renewed connection to the Lord, who has always been your protector, guide, and source of unwavering truth, ensuring that no enemy remains hidden, no betrayal goes unnoticed, and no plan of the adversary succeeds against those under divine protection. And as the light of truth illuminates the darkness, you will stand in clarity, courage, and conviction, ready to embrace the next season of your life with confidence, faith, and the knowledge that God's hand has orchestrated every detail to ensure that justice, truth, and righteousness prevail, and that the enemy's exposure serves as a powerful testimony of divine intervention, a demonstration of faithfulness, and a reminder that no darkness can withstand the illumination of God's truth, no deception can endure the scrutiny of divine justice, and no adversary can triumph over those whom the Lord has chosen to protect, guide, and empower. As the enemy's exposure deepens, you will begin to perceive the subtle yet undeniable changes around you, the shifts in energy, the rearrangement of circumstances, and the alignment of events that were previously obscured by deception, for every lie, every manipulation, and every act of hidden treachery is now being brought into the open, and in that openness, the power of truth begins to prevail, disarming the enemy, dismantling their schemes, and restoring balance to your life. And as God reveals the enemy's intentions, you will notice how relationships that were strained by deception are clarified, how the clouds of confusion are lifted from your mind, and how the path ahead becomes illuminated with divine insight, allowing you to make decisions with confidence, wisdom, and discernment. And the enemy, who once thrived in secrecy, will now find their influence diminishing, their credibility eroding, and their attempts to control or manipulate falling apart, for no plot against you can endure. The light of God's truth, no scheme can succeed against divine oversight, and no secret remains hidden from the eyes of the Lord. And as you witness this revelation, you will feel an internal strengthening, a fortification of your spirit, a clarity of purpose, and an unwavering certainty that every trial, every challenge, and every act of betrayal has been part of a divine plan orchestrated to bring about this very moment of truth, for the exposure of the enemy is not only a revelation of wrongdoing but also an affirmation of divine protection, a confirmation of guidance, and a demonstration of justice that is perfect, complete, and unavoidable. And as the darkness of deceit is illuminated, the true character of the enemy is revealed, the motives that were once hidden are laid bare, and the tactics designed to mislead, manipulate, or harm are fully exposed, allowing you to respond with precision, integrity, and discernment. And you will recognize that this exposure is not intended to cause chaos or vengeance but to empower you, to awaken you to the reality of your circumstances, and to provide the clarity necessary to navigate life with strength, faith, and wisdom. And as the enemy's schemes unravel, you will notice how opportunities previously blocked are now accessible, how clarity replaces confusion, and how the path to your purpose becomes more apparent. For God's intervention ensures that truth triumphs over deception, righteousness prevails over treachery. And those under divine protection are fortified, guided, and positioned to walk in victory, and as the layers of secrecy fall away, the patterns of manipulation, the networks of deceit, and the hidden motives will be exposed to you and those around you, allowing you to act wisely, speak with authority, and make decisions that align with divine will. And in this revelation, you will gain discernment, confidence, and courage, recognizing that the enemy's attempts to weaken, undermine, or control you have been neutralized, that divine protection has always been surrounding you, and that the unfolding exposure is part of a greater plan to strengthen, prepare, and empower you. And as each secret is unveiled, the enemy's credibility diminishes, their power wanes, and their influence is neutralized, for God's justice is absolute, His timing perfect, and His intervention unwavering. And you will witness how every act of betrayal becomes a catalyst for awakening, every plot designed to harm you is transformed into an opportunity for growth, and every hidden agenda is revealed as part of a larger divine orchestration that ensures your ultimate triumph. And as you continue to observe the exposure, you will notice the clarity it brings, the confidence it instills, the peace it provides, and the renewed alignment it creates in your life. And in that clarity, you will see the importance of surrounding yourself with those whose hearts are aligned with integrity, truth, and righteousness, for God is not only revealing the enemy but also guiding you toward relationships, opportunities, and circumstances that will elevate, protect, and empower you. And the enemy, who once thought their actions were unnoticed, will now witness the full extent of divine scrutiny, the transparency of truth, and the inevitability of justice. And in this revelation, you will understand that God's exposure is both a shield and a guide, protecting you while providing insight, strengthening you while revealing reality, and ensuring that you are fully prepared to walk boldly, confidently, and victoriously into the next season of your life. For the enemy's exposure is not only an affirmation of divine justice but also a testament to God's faithfulness, a demonstration of His unwavering power, and a reminder that no deception can endure, no betrayal goes unnoticed, and no enemy can triumph against those under His protection. And as the light of truth continues to illuminate every hidden scheme, you will stand with clarity, courage, and conviction, ready to embrace your destiny, empowered by the knowledge that God has always been orchestrating events, guiding circumstances, and arranging every detail to ensure that righteousness, justice, and truth prevail. And the enemy's exposure serves as a powerful testimony of divine intervention, a confirmation of faith, and a vivid demonstration that the Lord's protection is real, active, and absolute, ensuring that no plan of deception can succeed, no act of treachery can endure, and no adversary can disrupt the course of those whom God has chosen to protect, guide, and empower. And as this revelation unfolds further, you will recognize the divine pattern, the orchestration behind events, the timing of circumstances, and the alignment of hearts, all working together to bring the enemy's plans to light, to neutralize deception, and to establish a path of clarity, strength, and victory. For God's hand moves with precision, His wisdom surpasses human understanding, and His plan for justice is meticulous, ensuring that no betrayal remains hidden, no plot succeeds, and no darkness prevails over those under His protection. And as you continue to witness the exposure, you will feel your spirit strengthened, your faith solidified, and your understanding deepened, recognizing that every obstacle, every betrayal, and every hidden attack was ultimately part of a divine preparation, positioning you for this very moment. Of clarity, empowerment, and triumph, and as the enemy's true nature is revealed, their schemes dismantled, and their influence nullified, you will step forward with discernment, courage, and confidence, fully aware that God's justice has been enacted, His protection established, and His plan fulfilled, allowing you to embrace the next chapter of your life with unwavering faith, clarity of purpose, and a deep, abiding assurance that the enemy's exposure is a manifestation of divine intervention, protection, and guidance, securing your path, affirming your faith, and preparing you for victory in every area of life.